Hi, I'm Dory Demers, and I'm the Rise Vermont coordinator. Rise Vermont is a community initiative to embrace healthier lifestyles, improve the quality of life, and reduce healthcare costs of where we live, work, and play. We are pleased to bring you Rise TV, a weekly syndicated show on Northwest Access Television, bringing us all tips, tricks, and resources to embrace a healthier lifestyle. We are thrilled that we are partnering with the Vermont Department of Health St. Albans District Office to offer these tapings as WIC-approved activities. Please be sure to listen for your WIC-approved phrase that'll appear at the bottom of your screen here and also be told by the co-host. This will be what you will have to report back to your local district office to get credit for your second nutrition education. If you'd like more information about Rise Vermont, head to www.risevermont.com or follow us on social media. I really hope you enjoy the show, and thank you for joining us in embracing a healthier lifestyle and creating a healthier community for all of us and generations to come. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Rise Vermont TV. My name is Brian Kluke, and I'm the Rise Vermont Health Coach, and today with me as a special guest.
Hi, I'm Stacy Carpenter. I'm from the Vermont Department of Health, and I'm a public health nurse in the St. Albans, Grand Isle, Franklin counties, so in the area.
Perfect. And Stacy's in here today. Today we're going to be talking a lot about water consumption, whether you're in the office, outside. We may also talk about all different types of seasons as far as staying hydrated and the importance of that. And Stacy's here today as our local expert to give us some guidance and some ideas and shed some light on how to stay properly hydrated. First of all, Stacey, I'd like to talk about why is staying hydrated important in the first place? Like, what is the number one beverage of choice someone should have to stay hydrated?
Yeah, definitely water. It's the easiest choice, and it's the best for the body. You know, we try to tell people to stay away from the sweetened, beverages, anything with extra sugars. Water is the best hydration method for your body. It's the best way to keep the body going.
Perfect. Having said that, water also has 0 calories, correct?
Correct.
Awesome,
yep.
awesome.
Best choice.
If you were to have another option, I know there's some sugary drinks out there. Are there any circumstances when you would want to drink one of those, or is water kind of always the go-to?
It's usually the go-to. I mean, in extreme cases, those that exercise, frequently or really intense exercising can sometimes lose a lot of salt from the body just with heavy sweating. And so that can sometimes disrupt the body's systems, especially muscles. And so sometimes you can get a little bit of cramping with that. So the drinks that are out there that have the electrolytes in them can sometimes be helpful to replace the the sodium chloride that's being lost through the sweating. So
perfect. And you're talking like bouts of exercise over an hour or physical activity?
Yeah, just really intense, especially in like hot weather. If you're working out in extreme temperatures, then you're going to be sweating more. You're just going to be losing a lot more from the strenuous activity.
Yeah, sure. Excellent. Well, that's a little bit as far as water being the best choice to drink from day to day, keeping you hydrated. And then next, I'd like to talk about water consumption. In a 24-hour day, if you get 8 hours of sleep, you're up 16 hours of the day. What should we be looking at in that 14 to 16-hour time frame? When should we be drinking water? Is there a certain time of day that's best for the human body, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, your active times. And so, if you're working off shift, that can be sometimes difficult, but whenever you're going to be awake. And so, it varies. 6 to 8 cups, in that time period is great. You could do a mix of water, so fluids, and maybe getting water or fluids through food as well. So you could add that to your day as well.
And what would be some examples of getting water through food?
So like the definitely water heavy foods, things like melons, watermelon, cantaloupe is great. So a lot of the fruits can sometimes have a lot of water content to them. Some veggies do as well. So you could add that to your diet, and that could be some of the water content that you get throughout the day.
Kind of a substitute
exactly.
in a way.
If you just aren't, drinking, consistently throughout the day, if you're eating your fluid, so to speak, then that's a way to get more water into your diet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And as far as drinking water itself, I know for me, if I'm out and about, I do carry a water bottle with me. Are there any recommendations as to water bottles or access of water? anything like that?
Not necessarily. I mean, certainly, you just want to be aware of where you're getting your water. Obviously, public areas, just being careful that it is public water. That's always treatable. They're treating it for, any bacteria that might be in the water.
Yeah.
You just want to be careful. If you're hiking, if you don't know the source, don't drink it.
Don't drink it. Yeah.
So stay away from the creeks, the rivers, things like that, because we don't know what's actually in it. There can be bacteria, parasites that can make you really ill. And so just sticking to, sources that the safe sources.
Excellent, excellent. And as well, when you do drink out of a water bottle, I know there's some kind of crafty and neat ways out there. You can get water bottles with the time of day written on them.
Nice.
Throughout the day, so by 7 or 8 a.m. you should have drinking X amount of water, and that process kind of continues throughout the day, something like that. Now, as far as hydration levels, we've talked a little bit about drinking water out of water bottles, access to water. What about how, individually, how much should I be drinking, or the audience? How does someone know how much they're drinking, or how much to drink?
I mean, there's no strict measurement. It really can vary about, what you're doing throughout the day. If you're exercising, you obviously need more to replace anything that you're sweating out. Children may not need as much. And so, it varies, but 6 to 8 cups a day, so up to 64 ounces.
Okay.
There's always that question, could I drink too much? It's rare. You could, but it would be extreme amounts. And in that case, you would be kind of diluting out your salt content in your body, and that can cause ill effect later on. But for the most part, 6 to 8 cups a day. You try to get what you can during that period of time, and just make it. I guess fun, so to speak. So, for kids, it might be a fun cup. For adults, sometimes just drinking water with ice in it can be more satisfying.
Yeah.
Or a lemon slice, putting something in to make it a little more creative.
And talking on that exact subject, I know you mentioned fruit before. I've seen people take their water bottles and actually put fruit in them, so it kind of
a little more appetizing.
Yeah, seeps into the water, becomes a little bit flavored, and you get a little bit more nutrients out of that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, even freezing fruits can sometimes be fun because it can cool the water as you drink it, and it's a little more flavorful. And cheaper than what you buy at the store as well.
True. And now we're in the summer months here, so I'd like to talk a little bit about going outside, and we've talked a lot about physical activity and exercise. But I'd also like to talk about exposure to the sun in the human body, but also in relation to water consumption. And it's not just water, correct? But we're going to be talking about heat stroke and heat exhaustion.
Right.
If you'd like to talk about what those are and how those play a role in Vermont here.
Yep. So definitely something that we see in the warmer months, so obviously summer months for us. And so, signs that you're getting a little dehydrated, signs that you may need to increase your water intake can be things like just feeling thirsty. So that, that thirsty feeling, your mouth might get a little sticky or tacky, which could indicate less fluid in the mouth. Sometimes people can get headaches, they feel a little tired, they're just kind of worn down. Other signs that you may need some more water is just urine. So when you pee, the urine can have a color to it, and if it's looking darker, so we want to see urine look pale yellow to clear, which means great hydration. If it's looking more amberish in color, just darker, it could mean that it's concentrating more, which means you need more water intake. And then other signs like constipation. So sometimes people have trouble with that as well. So when you're talking about heat exhaustion and heat stroke is really a medical emergency. It's kind of the extreme end of heat illness. So when people have heat exhaustion, they're not getting enough water in, their body's starting to warm up. And so signs could be increased sweating. You get really, really sweaty. You start to get almost like cold, clammy skin. You start to get a little nauseous. You may vomit. And
that might be when you're out and about and it's warm out, but you just chills. You have the chills.
Yep, exactly.
So that could be one of the early signs.
You get a little shaky, you get a little dizzy, you feel like I need to sit down. And so those are concerning signs that you really need to go and cool down. removing layers, get down to a base layer, get into a cool spot, air conditioning, fans, maybe just have a cool shower, and then just start sipping water. You don't want to really drink a whole cup of water.
You don't want too much too fast.
When your stomach's really upset and feeling kind of nauseous, the more you put in, the more it's going to come out. So you want to do slow hydration. So little sips every 15 minutes for the first hour. See how that goes, then increase it over time. So that works well with like nausea and vomiting.
Yeah.
So you could do all those things and hopefully you start to rebound a little bit. Heat stroke is when you stop sweating. Your body temperature actually gets to 103 degrees, which is really, really dangerous. Again, you'll have...
That is kind of the point where that's when you know it's
a medical emergency. Call 911. They tend to have hot red skin. They're not even sweating anymore. It's just so hot. And that can cause people to faint and then become unconscious. So definitely a medical emergency. You want to get someone cooled down. The thing to remember, you can cool down with just some cool water, cool washcloths, things like that. Never put someone in an ice bath. That actually increases shivering, which increases your temperature. So you never want to do that. So just cool water is perfect.
Today's certified WIC activity code is hydration. And now talking about heat stroke and heat exhaustion, I just want to clear one thing up in case anyone had a question. We've been talking a lot about hydration and water. So water not being the only culprit. So if it's really warm out, and please clarify if I'm incorrect, if I feel properly hydrated, I'm ready to go out and do some physical activity, and then I'm starting to see some of these symptoms, could it be just because I'm outside too long? So those are some things to be conscious, aware of as well?
Yep, maybe you're doing more than you thought, and it's warm out, and you're just sweating a little bit more, and you thought you were hydrated when you went out, and you just haven't been consistently taking in. Yeah, definitely. It could be just the elements themselves. So that's, part of it. Just listening to your body, listening to what it's saying to you. And if that's the case, go rest for a minute, go into a shady spot, and then just hydrate.
Excellent, excellent. And one other thing, we've been talking a lot about water. I do have a couple examples here I'd like to show of different types of water bottles that you can purchase and bring with you throughout the day. I just have these two examples here. This first one is an insulated water bottle, which you can fill, and it's 21 ounces. You can carry it with you wherever you go, really. And it will keep your water cool or room temperature, whichever you like. And then this version, maybe you can talk a little bit more. I've been seeing more of these lately, this kind of pouch style. As you can see, it's super thin. And this will fill up with water, and I think this holds 16 ounces. But if you're hiking or doing something physically active, this could be great. Once it's empty, then it's clearly lightweight and portable.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
As well. One other thing I'd like to talk about is, eye protection. You're talking a lot about hydration, and with hydration and physical activity during these warmer months, even into the fall as well. You want to keep your eyes protected. So yeah, make sure you're wearing proper eye protection. And are there any other?
Yep, sunscreen is always good to have with you, especially the warmer months and the cold months. If you're skiing and you're high elevation, you don't think about it. It's really easy to get sunburned. So, sunscreen's great. 15 to 30 SPF. Put it on 30 minutes before you go out. Reapply every 2 hours as needed. And that's always good to have as well.
Excellent. And this is something actually you could bring with you skiing. You could almost keep it in your coat if you kept a light amount of water, and then it, folds right up.
The body heat would keep it from freezing too.
Exactly. One other thing I'd like to mention, you mentioned earlier before we started the show, is there's a kind of is it statewide temperature to be aware of? Or
Exactly. So the health department has been looking at temperatures throughout the state over a number of years and found that 87 degrees tends to be the statewide average. Throughout the state, that you tend to see more adverse health effects. So what does that mean? If someone has chronic conditions, heart disease, neurological disease, something that already has put stress on the body, that extra heat is going to make it even worse. So just being aware, it may be lower than other states because we don't have hot weather all the time,
Yeah.
and we're just not used to
A little bit more northern.
exactly. We're not used to the high heat, and additionally, buildings may not be prepared for that high temperature as well,
Yeah.
because we don't see it that often. So just to be aware that even 87 degrees can be hot enough to really cause serious ill effect.
Perfect, excellent. Well, thank you, Stacey, for being on our show today. That about brings it to an end. Thank you for watching this episode of Rise Vermont TV, and stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you.
Thanks.